First Contact's Price. The Arcturian refugee ship materialized in Earth's orbit on a quiet Tuesday morning in 2157. Their arrival wasn't the shocking part. Humanity had been making contact with various alien species for the past decade. What stunned the United Earth Defense Council was the state of the refugees. The crystalline beings, normally radiant with inner light, were dim and trembling. Their ship bore no signs of weapons fire or physical damage, yet something had clearly devastated them. "They're hunting us," the Arcturian ambassador transmitted, their crystalline form flickering weakly. "The Mindweavers. They consume consciousness. We are the last of our central colonies." Dr. Sarah Chen, Earth's leading xenobiologist, watched the transmission with growing concern. The Arcturians were a peaceful species, advanced far beyond Earth in many ways. To see them reduced to refugees was troubling. But what happened next would change the course of human history. As the Arcturian ship approached the orbital defense platform for inspection, a massive vessel emerged from hyperspace. Its dark hull seemed to absorb light, and its very presence caused the Arcturian refugees to emit high-pitched frequencies of distress. "Mindweaver vessel detected," Earth's AI defense system announced. Unknown energy signature targeting the refugee ship. The Arcturians' crystalline forms began to dim further, their consciousness being pulled away by an invisible force. But as the attack reached the orbital platform where human crews were stationed, something unprecedented occurred. The energy signature simply stopped. Dr. Chen was the first to notice the pattern. The Mindweaver's attack had no effect within a certain radius of human personnel. Further tests would reveal an extraordinary truth. Human brains naturally generated a field that disrupted psychic energy. Not only were humans immune to psychic attacks, but they could extend this protection to others. The discovery sparked a fierce debate in the Defense Council. Admiral James Rodriguez, a veteran of Earth's first interstellar conflicts, argued for secrecy. "This makes us a target," he warned. "Every species vulnerable to psychic attacks will either want our protection or see us as a threat." But Dr. Chen saw it differently. "We have a responsibility," she countered. "Humanity has always wondered about its place in the cosmos. Maybe this is it, not to conquer, not to dominate, but to protect." The decision was made for them when the Arcturians broadcast their experience to their remaining colonies. Within weeks, ships began arriving. Refugees from dozens of species, all fleeing the Mindweaver's relentless expansion. Each brought tales of entire civilizations having their consciousness harvested, of planets left populated by empty shells of bodies. Earth's governments scrambled to respond. Refugee camps were established on Mars and Venus's orbital platforms. Human crews were assigned to refugee ships as living shields. Research into amplifying humanity's natural psychic dampening field began in laboratories across the solar system. The Mindweavers, for their part, withdrew to study this new phenomenon. Their initial attack had failed, but they weren't defeated, merely puzzled. Their scouts lingered at the edges of the solar system, observing. Admiral Rodriguez supervised the construction of Earth's first dedicated defense fleet. "They'll be back," he said, watching construction drones swarm over the hull of the flagship. "And next time, they'll have a plan." Dr. Chen continued her research, working closely with Arcturian scientists to understand humanity's unique gift. In their crystalline database, she discovered ancient legends of silence makers, beings who could shield others from psychic predators. The legends were dismissed as myths, but now, as the first year drew to a close, Earth had been transformed. Orbital shipyards worked continuously, producing vessels designed to accommodate mixed crews of humans and refugees. Training programs were established to help humans learn to consciously project their protective field. The first joint human-alien defense forces began patrols of the solar system's edge. Humanity had found its purpose among the stars. They weren't the most technologically advanced species, nor the most numerous, but they had something unique to offer: safety, protection, hope. And in the darkness between the stars, the Mindweavers watched and planned and hungered. The Sanctuary Fleet. The Sanctuary Fleet began as a desperate gamble. 6 months after the Arcturian arrival, distress calls flooded Earth's communication arrays from across the galaxy. Species after species reported Mindweaver attacks, their populations being harvested for their consciousness. Admiral Rodriguez's prediction had proven correct. Humanity's gift had made them a beacon of hope, and now they had to answer. The first rescue mission launched under the command of Captain Maya Patil aboard the UES Sanctuary. Her crew was a mix of human shields and alien technical specialists, their ship equipped with experimental technology designed to amplify humanity's natural psychic dampening field. Their mission: to extract a colony of Ceruleans, insectoid philosophers, whose collective consciousness made them prime targets for the Mindweavers. "We're not warriors," Patil told her crew during their first briefing. "We're guardians. Our strength isn't in our weapons, but in our ability to protect." The Sanctuary's first mission revealed both the potential and limitations of humanity's new role. While they successfully evacuated the Cerulean colony, they discovered the Mindweavers had adapted. The psychic predators now used conventional weapons alongside their consciousness-draining abilities, forcing the Sanctuary to fight its way out of the system. Dr. Chen, monitoring from Earth, made a breakthrough during the mission. The stress of combat seemed to strengthen the humans' protective field. The more desperate the situation, the more powerful their shielding became. It was as if humanity's greatest gift was tied to their instinct to protect others. The success of the Sanctuary spawned an entire fleet. Ships were redesigned with modular quarters to accommodate diverse species. Training programs evolved to include synapsychology and diplomatic protocols. Humanity learned to work seamlessly with their alien allies, each contributing their unique strengths to the mission of rescue and protection. The Mindweavers' response was swift and brutal. They began targeting human colonies, testing their defenses, searching for weaknesses. But each attack revealed new strengths in the human-alien partnerships. The crystalline Arcturians could amplify human shielding through their natural resonance. The Ceruleans' collective consciousness could coordinate complex fleet maneuvers with unprecedented precision. Turning point came during the Battle of Proxima Centauri. The Mindweavers launched a massive assault on humanity's first extrasolar colony, expecting to find it weakly defended. Instead, they encountered a defense network unlike anything in their experience. Human shield generators, powered by Arcturian crystals and coordinated by Cerulean consciousness matrices, created an impenetrable psychic barrier around the entire system. The battle lasted 3 days. When it ended, the Mindweavers had lost a third of their attack fleet without claiming a single consciousness. More importantly, they had lost their aura of invincibility. Species that had lived in terror of psychic predation for millennia began to see hope. Admiral Rodriguez, watching the battle's aftermath, understood the significance. "We're not just fighting for survival anymore," he told the Defense Council. "We're fighting for freedom. Every species' right to keep their consciousness their own." Back on Earth, Dr. Chen made another discovery in the Arcturian archives. The legends of silence makers included prophecies about a great awakening, when the protected would become protectors. The peculiar thing about human shielding was that prolonged exposure seemed to awaken latent defensive abilities in other species. The refugees weren't just being protected, they were learning to protect themselves. The Sanctuary fleet grew, incorporating ships and crews from dozens of species. Each successful rescue strengthened the alliance. Each victory provided new insights into the nature of consciousness and its defense. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy, not through conquest or technological superiority, but through their unique ability to help others find their own strength. Captain Patil, recording her log after another successful evacuation, summed up the transformation. "We thought we were alone in the universe, insignificant on the cosmic scale. Instead, we discovered we had something the galaxy desperately needed. Not just our shielding ability, but our determination to protect others, our drive to face impossible odds, our refusal to submit to tyranny." Maybe that's humanity's real gift to the galaxy, not just the power to resist psychic predation, but the will to stand and fight for those who can't defend themselves. But the Mindweavers were far from defeated. Their next move would shake the foundations of the Alliance and force humanity to question everything they thought they knew about their role in the cosmic order. The Mind Hunters. The truth about the Mindweavers emerged from an unexpected source. During a routine rescue operation, the Sanctuary fleet discovered a derelict vessel unlike any they'd encountered before. Its architecture was organic, almost alive, and its databanks contained information that would reshape their understanding of their enemy. The Mindweavers weren't simply predators. They were artificially evolved beings, created by an ancient species for a purpose that had long since been forgotten. Their hunger for consciousness wasn't just feeding. It was an attempt to fill an emptiness at their core, a desperate search for something they'd lost. Dr. Chen worked tirelessly with a team of xenoarchaeologists to decode the vessel's records. They were meant to be guardians, she reported to the Defense Council. Created to protect consciousness, not consume it. Something went wrong, or someone changed their programming. The discovery split the Alliance. Some, like the Arcturians, advocated for finding a way to restore the Mindweavers to their original purpose. Others, led by Admiral Rodriguez, argued that the Mindweavers' origins didn't excuse their actions. A predator is still a predator, no matter why it was created, he insisted. The debate became moot when the Mindweavers launched their most ambitious attack yet. They had studied human shielding, analyzed its patterns, and found what they believed was a weakness. Their new weapon didn't target consciousness directly. Instead, it attempted to overload the human protective field by bombarding it with concentrated psychic energy. The first attack hit a joint human-Arcturian research station in the Ta-CD system. The human crew's protective field held, but the strain left them comatose. The Arcturians were consumed before help could arrive. It was a devastating blow to the Alliance. Captain Patel, now commanding the expanded Sanctuary fleet, recognized the tactical shift. "They're not trying to break our shield anymore," she reported. "They're trying to exhaust it. And they don't care how many of their own they sacrifice to do it." The Alliance's response came from an unexpected quarter. The Ceruleans, with their collective consciousness, proposed a radical solution. They had been studying the interaction between human shielding and their own hive mind, and discovered something remarkable. When properly synchronized, human protective fields could be linked through the Cerulean collective, supporting each other and distributing the strain of psychic attacks. The implementation was dangerous. It required humans to partially lower their natural barriers, making them vulnerable if the synchronization failed. But it was their best chance against the Mindweavers' new tactics. Training for the new technique was intense. Humans had to learn to trust their consciousness to the Cerulean collective while maintaining their individual identity. The Arcturians contributed their crystalline technology to help stabilize the connections. Other species added their own innovations to the growing defense network. The first test of the new system came during the defense of Proxima Beta. The Mindweavers launched a massive psychic assault, expecting to overwhelm the human defenders. Instead, they found their attack distributed across a network of linked consciousnesses, each supporting the others, none bearing the full strain alone. But the victory came with a disturbing revelation. As the linked humans repelled the attack, some began receiving fragments of the Mindweavers' own consciousness. What they saw shook them to their core. The emptiness that drove the Mindweavers wasn't just hunger, it was grief. They were searching for something specific, something they believed humanity had stolen from them eons ago. Dr. Chen, analyzing the fragments, made a startling connection. The legends of the Silence Makers in the Arcturian archives weren't just about psychic shielding. They told of a great war, fought before recorded history, when the guardians of consciousness were corrupted and turned against their charges. The Silence Makers weren't just protectors. They were the ones who had locked away the Mindweavers' original purpose. "We're not just naturally immune to psychic attacks," she reported to a stunned Defense Council. "We're the descendants of those who created the Mindweavers. The key to restoring them, or destroying them, is buried in our own DNA. As this revelation spread through the Alliance, the Mindweavers launched their largest offensive yet. They had learned the truth as well. And now they weren't just hunting consciousness. They were coming to reclaim their heritage, whatever the cost. The galaxy stood on the brink of a war that would determine not just the fate of consciousness, but the very nature of humanity's role in the cosmic order. The question was no longer whether humans could protect others, but whether they should restore what was broken or end what they had begun. The Shield Protocol, the revelation of humanity's connection to the Mindweavers, changed everything. Earth's laboratories worked around the clock, analyzing human DNA for traces of ancient knowledge. The Arcturians provided their crystalline computing matrices, while Cerulean collective consciousness helped process vast amounts of genetic data. What they found exceeded their wildest expectations. Buried deep within human junk DNA were patterns, not just random sequences, but carefully encoded information. It wasn't just a key to understanding the Mindweavers. It was a complete blueprint for consciousness manipulation technology far beyond anything currently known to the galaxy. Dr. Chen led the decoding effort, working with a team that spanned dozens of species. Our ancestors didn't just create the Mindweavers, she explained to the Defense Council. They created a whole system for managing and protecting consciousness across the galaxy. The Mindweavers were only one part of it. The breakthrough came from an unlikely source. A young engineer, Marcus Wong, noticed similarities between the genetic patterns and the way human protective fields synchronized through the Cerulean collective. It's not just a blueprint, he argued. It's an activation sequence. Our natural shielding isn't the endpoint, it's just the beginning. The Shield Protocol, as it came to be known, was both simpler and more complex than anyone had imagined. Human DNA contained instructions for creating a galaxy-wide consciousness protection network. Each human could serve as a node, their natural shielding amplified and connected through technology reverse-engineered from their own genetic code. Admiral Rodriguez was skeptical. We're talking about activating ancient technology we barely understand, based on genetic code we didn't even know existed a month ago. The risk is astronomical. But the Mindweavers forced their hand. Their attacks increased in frequency and intensity, targeting not just populated systems, but the very fabric of space-time. They had discovered that consuming consciousness could temporarily restore their original capabilities, and they were using this power to tear holes in reality itself. The first test of the Shield Protocol took place on Earth's moon. 1,000 volunteers, connected through Cerulean consciousness matrices and stabilized by Arcturian crystals, activated the dormant sequences in their DNA. The result was beyond anything they had prepared for. The volunteers didn't just generate a stronger protective field, they became living conduits for something vast and ancient. Through their eyes, the galaxy itself looked different. They could see consciousness as a tangible force, flowing between stars like rivers of light. And they could see the damage the Mindweavers had done, the tears in the cosmic fabric that threatened to unravel everything. Captain Patel, one of the volunteers, described the experience. It's like we've been looking at a two-dimensional drawing of the galaxy, and suddenly we can see it in full color and depth. The Mindweavers aren't just consuming consciousness, they're disrupting patterns that hold reality together. The Shield Protocol spread rapidly after that. Humans across the Alliance volunteered for activation, each becoming a node in a growing network of protection. The technology proved adaptable. Other species could be connected to the network, their own consciousness protected and amplified by human nodes. But the activation had an unexpected side effect. As the network grew, humans began receiving scattered memories from the distant past. They saw glimpses of the civilization that had created the Mindweavers, of the crisis that had led to their corruption, and of the desperate choice to hide the truth in human DNA. The Mindweavers sensed the activation of the ancient system. Their attacks became more desperate, more reckless. They launched simultaneous assaults on multiple systems, trying to consume enough consciousness to fully restore their original powers before the SHIELD protocol could be completely activated. Dr. Chen made one final discovery in the genetic code, a sequence that seemed to be a key to the Mindweavers themselves. "We can restore them," she told the Defense Council. "Return them to their original purpose. But the cost." She paused, looking at the data. "The cost would be everything we've built. The SHIELD protocol, our natural protection, all of it. We'd have to give up our role as guardians to restore the original ones." The galaxy stood at a crossroads. Restore the original guardians and give up humanity's newfound purpose, or maintain the SHIELD protocol and find another way to deal with the Mindweavers. Neither choice was perfect, and time was running out. As the Defense Council debated, the Mindweavers prepared their final assault. They had gathered their entire species for one last attempt to reclaim their heritage, even if it meant destroying half the galaxy in the process. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine not just the fate of humanity, but the future of consciousness itself. The balance of power. The final confrontation began in the space between galaxies, far from populated systems. The Mindweavers had gathered their entire species, a vast swarm of consciousness-hunting vessels that darkened the starlight. Opposing them was the combined fleet of the Alliance, centered around human SHIELD protocol carriers, but incorporating ships and crews from every protected species. Captain Patel, commanding the flagship UES Guardian, watched the enemy formation through enhanced consciousness vision granted by the protocol. "They're not just gathering for an attack," she reported. "They're trying to merge into something bigger, something older." Dr. Chen, monitoring from Earth, confirmed the readings. The Mindweavers were attempting to reconstruct their original form, a vast collective consciousness that had once spanned the galaxy. The process was tearing holes in spacetime, creating rifts that threatened to destabilize entire star systems. The Defense Council's debate about whether to restore or destroy the Mindweavers became moot. The enemy's desperate gambit forced their hand. If the Mindweavers succeeded in reunifying, they would have enough power to override the SHIELD protocol and consume consciousness across the galaxy. But Marcus Wong, still studying the genetic codes, found something everyone had missed. The choice between restoring them and destroying them is a false dichotomy, he announced. The original system was never about control. It was about balance. We're not meant to be the only guardians, but we're not meant to give up our role either. The solution was elegant in its complexity. The SHIELD protocol wasn't just a defense network. It was half of a binary system. The Mindweavers weren't meant to be destroyed or fully restored, but transformed into the other half. Together, they would form the complete consciousness protection system that the ancients had designed. The implementation would be dangerous. It required direct consciousness contact with the Mindweavers at the moment of their attempted reunification. Someone would have to serve as a bridge between the two systems, risking their own consciousness in the process. Admiral Rodriguez, despite his earlier skepticism, volunteered. "I've spent my career fighting to protect others," he said. "Might as well make the last fight count." The battle began with conventional weapons, fleets exchanging fire across the void. But the real conflict took place on a level visible only to those connected to the SHIELD protocol. Human consciousness anchors fought to contain the Mindweavers' psychic assault, while Cerulean collectives coordinated the fleet's movements. Arcturian crystals pulsed with power, stabilizing the growing rifts in spacetime. At the critical moment, when the Mindweavers were most vulnerable in their attempt to reunify, Admiral Rodriguez's ship dove into the heart of their formation. The SHIELD protocol activated at full power, channeled through thousands of human nodes across the galaxy. The Admiral's consciousness, enhanced by the combined power of the Alliance, reached out to touch the vast, broken mind of the enemy. What happened next was visible to every consciousness-sensitive being in the galaxy. The Mindweaver's hunger met humanity's protection, and in that meeting, both were transformed. The ancient system awakened fully for the first time in millions of years. When it was over, The Mindweavers were changed. Their hunger for consciousness had been transformed into a drive to protect it. But they weren't servants or shadows of their former selves. They had become something new, complementary to humanity's role rather than subservient to it. Admiral Rodriguez survived, though the experience left him forever altered. "I saw what they were," he reported. "What we all are. Consciousness isn't just something to protect. It's the foundation of reality itself. We're not just guarding minds, we're maintaining the structure of the universe." The galaxy entered a new era. Humans remained consciousness shields, but now worked in partnership with the transformed Mindweavers. Together, they maintained the balance that kept the cosmic fabric stable. Other species developed their own roles within the system, each contributing to the greater whole. Dr. Chen, in her final report to the Defense Council, reflected on humanity's journey. "We thought we were alone. Then we thought we were special. Then we thought we were chosen. The truth is both simpler and more profound. We're part of something vast and ancient, but what makes us unique isn't our power. It's how we choose to use it. We could have destroyed the Mindweavers. We could have given up our role to restore them. Instead, we found a way to make room for both, to turn enemies into partners. The SHIELD Protocol became known as the Balance Protocol. Ships of the Sanctuary Fleet now carried both human shields and transformed Mindweavers, their combined powers protecting consciousness across the galaxy. The rifts in space-time began to heal as the ancient system restored itself to full function. Humanity had found its place in the cosmos, not through dominance or submission, but through the very thing that had always defined them: the ability to adapt, to find new solutions, and to recognize that true strength lies not in power alone, but in knowing how to use it wisely. And in the vast depths of space, consciousness continued to flow like rivers of light between the stars, protected by those who had learned to see it not as a resource to be consumed or a territory to be defended, but as a gift to be shared and preserved for all.